Order. Question number 11, Fletcher Tabuteau.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister for Economic Development, how would the Trans-Pacific Partnership help regional New Zealand?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, I thank the member for his question. The Trans-Pacific Partnership is exciting news for businesses across New Zealand, but particularly for those in regional New Zealand. The Trans-Pacific Partnership allows New Zealand exporters access to up to 800 million potential customers and covers 40% of existing global trade. In the US, the world's largest economy, in Japan, the world's third largest economy, and across the rapidly developing Asia-Pacific region, TPP will benefit all our exporters by opening up fairer access to more markets, whether they are farmers in Hawke's Bay or the Manawatu, wine growers in Central Otago, or manufacturers in the Waikato. As a government, we back our farmers, our horticulturists, our wine growers and our manufacturers. We're confident they're equal to the best in the world, and with this agreement they get access to big consumer markets to compete on a more equal footing with local suppliers, and this is exactly the same answer to the same question yesterday, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, Fletcher Tabuteau.
Thank you, sir. What happens to the New Zealand regional economy if TPP signatories fail to complete necessary domestic procedures within 2 years after the initial signing?
The Honourable Stephen
Well,
Joyce.
Mr Speaker, if individual countries don't accede to the agreement, then obviously they won't be participating in it, which would be the effect of the status quo as it is now. But I strongly believe that those countries will accede to the agreement because of the obvious benefits that agreement brings.
Point of order. Yes, point of order.
Point of order, Fletcher Tabuteau.
Thank you, sir. I seek leave to table an article dated the 13th of October,
Source of the article,
a
please.
subscription-only trade journal, so it is not widely accessible, outlining this process, sir, which is completely contrary.
I'll accept the member's word. Leave us all to table this particular article. Is there any objection? There is objection. Further supplementaries?
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Fletcher Tabuteau.
Thank you, sir. What happens to the deal, given Mr Grosser told Q&A everyone should wait until the officials from 12 countries can do this Herculean task of getting the text into its final shape?
Order. I need a supplementary question, not a chance to make a speech. Can a member rephrase the question in line with standing orders?
If he agrees with this statement, what would be the conclusion if the Spanish or French versions of this agreement contest the English version?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, actually there's quite a tradition of actually translation that occurs between languages as a general rule. So, for example, when I say bonjour to you now, I mean hello, and hola would be Spanish. And there's legions of people, Mr Speaker, whose job it is to translate.
Order.
Despite the confusion it was...
Order. Now, is the member going to attempt to raise a point of order?
Yes, that was my point, sir.
Then I will hear the point of order, but I expect to hear it in silence.
I just wanted an answer to the question.
Order. The difficulty is, I suspect I didn't understand the question because it was such a long-winded question. If the member could take some time out to practice asking supplementary questions. Order! I don't want comment from the back half of on my right-hand side. I go back through the questions yesterday particularly. They are too long-winded. The member would do himself a favour if he could sharpen up his supplementary questions so I can assist him to then get an answer that's satisfactory. Point of order. Any member has a right to raise a point of order, but I just want to be fair to the member. If he's in any way attempting to relitigate where I've just been with a ruling, I will be most upset.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Ron Mark, point of order.
In trying to assist my colleague, sir, and asking for your indulgence, his question started with the word "what." He went on to quote word for word what a minister had said.
Order. The members now order. The members relitigating just where we've been. If the member wants to have a look at standing orders, it describes quite clearly the questions are meant to be concise. It doesn't require the length of quote the member was putting into his question. I can assist the member get answers to his question when they are simple and concise, but the way it was worded is unsatisfactory and is not in line with standing orders. The fact that it starts with the word "what" doesn't suddenly make it correct. Now, if the member has further supplementaries, then we can move on. I hope they are going to be in line with standing orders.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Fletcher Tabuteau.
Supplementary question. When these guys are ready. Supplementary. Regional New Zealand needs to know what will the Japanese tariff on beef under the TPPA be if beef imports into Japan from TPP countries exceed 550,000 tonnes during the first year of implementation.
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Speaker, those details will all come through in the finalised text, but I can tell the member that over time the beef tariffs for New Zealand into Japan dropped from 38.5% to I think around 9.5%, which by anybody's measure is a great step forward for beef farmers into Japan.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Fletcher Tabuteau.
How will regional New Zealand benefit from the TPP if the current account deficit deteriorates even further due to imports far exceeding exports 4-1, for example, as with the ASEAN FTA?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr. Speaker, aside from the fact that actually New Zealand consumers benefit from cheaper imports as well, but let's leave that aside, the important point for the member perhaps is the salutary example would be the China FTA, which has been one of the bigger impacts on the tradable economy in recent years. And actually since 2008, I think the current account deficit from memory was about 8.5% of GDP. Currently it's around 3.5% of GDP, despite the fact that we set up a big China FTA. So while individual countries will not necessarily have trade balances, either positively or negatively, exports, imports, on the whole, New Zealand greatly benefits from being connected to the world and having the opportunity to sell our products on the world stage. I appreciate the member doesn't necessarily agree with that, but that actually is the history and the prospect for regional New Zealand.
Point of order, Clayton Mitchell.
Mr. Speaker, could I indulge your reading on the what length of question is actually a reasonable one for the future, being, Mr. Speaker, that we've had questions in the past that have been 70 odd words long, when this one that we've just had was only 40 words long. It would be just good to have some clarity for the
order. There is no member should carefully look at standing orders, particularly Standing Order 380. There is no particular word count as to what length a question or answer would be. I will judge that on each occasion, but I'm trying to be of assistance to the member who was asking the supplementary questions. If he tightens them up, I can then assist him getting an answer. When they are a very long-winded question, they give ministers a very wide ambit in answering the question, and often it raises a point of order then that the question hasn't been addressed to the satisfaction of the members. I'm trying to assist the members. Fresh point of order?
Thank you. It's fresh. Yes. Standing Order 386. And in silence, David Bennett. Please.
Order. The member will resume his seat. Now, I will hear what I expect to be the point of order. I know exactly what it'll be, but we'll still listen to it very, very briefly.
Standing Order 386, and again, as you know, Mr. Speaker, it refers to the answers being concise. Now, what we had was a perfect example of how an answer can be very...
No, order. Member will resume his seat. Order. The member needs to listen to when I try to assist, particularly New Zealand First members. When you get a long-winded question, it then gives the minister a far wider ambit in answering them. And a question as wide as the member asked, talking about the current account deficit in relation to the TPP, gave the member a very wide ambit. And as I've mentioned to Mr. Mark on more than one occasion, I am the adjudicator. I will decide when the answer's gone on for too long, not Mr. Mark. No, I've heard quite enough from the member. Question number 12, Joanne Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.